the impermanence and flow of fate. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Life is full of surprises and uncertainty. Forrest Gump's mother's saying suggests that we can neither control nor foresee everything that life brings. This lesson closely relates to the concept of impermanence. Impermanence emphasizes that everything in life is constantly changing, and nothing is eternal or certain. Anything is possible. Impermanence encourages us to adapt to change and appreciate each moment. We must learn to let go, face changes with calmness, and accept both joy and hardship as natural parts of life. But facing and accepting do not mean drifting passively or surrendering entirely. The feather symbolizes Forrest's way of living and passiveness in several profound ways. The feather as drift. The feather signifies a life without clear direction or purpose. Like a feather blown by the wind, Forrest lives without actively setting goals or having a purposeful direction in his life. The feather as helpless acceptance. Forrest shows a passive acceptance, especially in love. He loves Jenny but only watches helplessly each time she leaves. The feather is not just an artistic image, but a symbol of passive living. Beautiful things in life can be missed when there is a lack of direction and action. Someone who is responsible for their own life sets goals and takes the necessary actions. After making every effort through external actions, they can then relax inwardly and let things flow as they may. This is known as tightening on the outside and letting go within. A young man may try his best to pursue a woman he loves, but he still cannot control the outcome, as the outcome is determined by countless conditions. For example, is the woman still alive at that time? Is she in love with someone else? Is she truly compatible with him? Is she possibly even gay? Etc. Therefore, we can only make every effort possible to control our actions externally, while letting go internally, knowing that outcomes flow along countless factors of fate rather than solely by our own intentions. Always act diligently with hope for good things to happen. Whatever the outcome, relax and be without regret. Avoid putting pressure on yourself to make everything happen as you wish. No one can control the flow of fate. Life is like a box of chocolates. We never know what we're going to get. But no matter what we get, don't be like the feather. Don't hand over your fate entirely to the winds. Forrest is an excellent runner. From a young age, whenever Forrest was bullied by other kids, Jenny would shout, "Run, Forrest, run!" And then Forrest would run and keep running. This phrase can be seen as a symbol of Forrest's tendency to respond to challenges in life, an instinctive reaction to escape rather than to face things head-on. Forrest lives a simple life. On the battlefield, Forrest faced clear life and death situations. He saw his fellow soldiers in danger and understood what he needed to do to save them. He was always ready to act according to what he believed was right. However, when it came to complex issues in his life, especially emotional matters or relationships, he chose to run from the emotional situations he didn't know how to handle. As he grew up, Forrest continued this pattern, whether by running across America to escape a feeling of emptiness or by passively waiting in his relationship with Jenny. In summary, Forrest is capable of courageous action in clear, specific situations. But with abstract or complex issues, he lacks the ability to process them and often resorts to passive avoidance, as these challenges exceed the thinking capacity of a simple-minded person like him. Now, let's delve deeper into the movie by analyzing Forrest Gump's character. 1. Forrest is kind-hearted, sincere, and lives with a sense of loyalty and compassion. The saying, "foolish in life, yet strong in conscience," perfectly fits Forrest. Forrest is neither cunning nor manipulative, lacking social skills, which may make him appear naive in the eyes of the world. But this makes him wise in heart, living by core moral values like loyalty and kindness. Those who live selfishly or with worldly cunning may benefit temporarily, but will eventually lose trust, respect, genuine relationships, and many invaluable things later on. One of the clearest examples of Forrest's devotion is when he immediately returned home upon learning that his mother was sick, even though he was far away. Forrest doesn't distinguish between wealth, race, or status, as seen when he waits at the bus stop, sharing his life stories with anyone he meets. When he encounters Lieutenant Dan, now a double amputee and looking homeless, Forrest's treatment of Dan remains unchanged. Above all, Forrest treats promises as a rule of life. He promised his friend Bubba that he would start a shrimp business, and even after Bubba passed away, Forrest kept that promise, despite his friend no longer being there. 2. Forrest is courageous in defending what is right, serious, and disciplined. Forrest doesn't hesitate to defend Jenny whenever he sees other men behaving aggressively toward her. He also braves the risk of saving his comrades under heavy fire during the war. Forrest doesn't hesitate or question when he sees the right thing to do. He doesn't flinch or show fear when faced with danger, focusing only on doing what he believes is right. In his work, Forrest is diligent and focused, whether assembling or disassembling a rifle or playing ping pong. He does everything with great concentration, allowing him to achieve successes that many people might never attain. However, his extreme discipline and seriousness make him almost robotic, following instructions without ever questioning the purpose or consequences of his actions. 3. Forrest lacks sensitivity and understanding of both others' emotions and his own. Forrest has athletic intelligence and excellent physical abilities, but he lacks awareness of both others' emotions and his own. He doesn't understand the feelings of Jenny or Lieutenant Dan. After losing his legs in the war, Dan fell into depression and despair. However, Forrest couldn't grasp Dan's pain to respond appropriately, merely standing there like a statue. Jenny, a woman who has been deeply hurt in life, needs someone who can understand and respond to her emotional needs. Although Forrest loves Jenny dearly, he cannot understand what she truly needs from him. He cannot comprehend the complexity of Jenny's emotions, which prevents him from becoming the emotional anchor she needs. Jenny turns to bad boys, men who meet her emotional needs yet fail to provide her with safety and stability. After experiencing several failed relationships, Jenny finally returns to Forrest. This may suggest that Jenny, while she might not have valued Forrest initially, eventually realizes the value of sincerity. She returns to Forrest only at the end of her life, by which point she's battling a terminal illness. So even though Forrest is kind and sincere, he lacks the ability to understand emotions and human psychology to truly support the one he loves. Forrest's own emotions are also something he cannot fully grasp. Jenny's coming into his life and then leaving him again stirs a void and pain within him, leading him to run across America. This act reveals that Forrest does not know how to face his loneliness and sorrow, so he chooses to run to avoid his feelings. Another interesting point is that when Forrest's mother passed away, he could accept it. But when Jenny died, he felt a deep sense of loss. This shows that Forrest is not just a simpleton without feelings. He has started to develop his emotions over time. Of course, he still lacks the ability to understand and deal with complex emotions. 4. Forrest lacks the wisdom to understand the nature of life's events. Though Forrest is a good, loyal, and sincere person, he lacks the wisdom to see through what's happening around him. He simply follows what others tell him to do, whether that's joining the war or playing ping pong, without questioning the meaning or value of his actions. This makes Forrest easily exploitable and manipulable, a man with strength but without wisdom. No matter how talented, without intelligence, he is only a pawn for others. He joined the war, able to shoot people, without understanding whether the war was just or unjust, and without awareness of the harm it could cause others. While Forrest didn't break any moral laws, he still violated the law of karma by participating in the war. So, although he has a good heart, his lack of wisdom can lead him to be swept up in circumstances, possibly leading to unintentional wrongs. Even when running across America, he is unclear about the meaning or motivation behind his actions. Forrest's mother was a highly understanding and wise woman. She helped Forrest overcome his insecurities, teaching him that he is no less than anyone else. She could have helped him become a genius, as Edison's mother did. If she had taught Forrest psychology, guided him to read, research, and study human psychology, perhaps Forrest wouldn't be seen as just a simpleton and wouldn't have lost Jenny, the person he loved most. With Forrest's diligence and focus, he could have overcome his weaknesses, just as he became an excellent ping pong player starting from scratch. In the end, Forrest begins to gain awareness about life when standing at Jenny's grave. After much loss and suffering, he starts to question life and its nature. Jenny, I don't know if Mama's right or Lieutenant Dan is right. I don't know if we each have a destiny or if we're all just floating around accidental like on a breeze, but I think maybe it's both. This shows that he can indeed develop his intellectual potential and overcome his weaknesses. For 5, Forrest lacks the ability to set goals and pursue them in life. He's persistent and focused in everything he does, but he lacks any goals. Even with ping pong, he plays only for fun without any career or financial goals. He loves Jenny deeply but does not make her a goal to pursue actively. Instead of pursuing and building a life with Jenny, he merely waits for her to return, watching as she goes from one relationship to another, eventually passing away from illness. This reveals Forrest's lack of ambition and planning in his love life. Even in everyday situations, Forrest shows a lack of organization and planning. For example, when he's piloting a boat and suddenly jumps into the water to greet Lieutenant Dan without considering the consequences if the boat crashes or causes harm. Forrest could easily cause serious consequences, from bankruptcy to ending up in jail. Forrest's life is like a feather drifting in the wind without any clear goals or ambitions. He lacks responsibility both for his life and for those he loves. If Forrest were wise and knowledgeable, he might have been able to help Jenny avoid mistakes and illness, rather than leaving her life to unfold tragically. Forrest became a soldier, a ping pong player, and a shrimp boat captain, but none of these were the result of personal planning or effort. Instead, Forrest simply drifted along with life. This raises an important question about the value of living without purpose. Can such a life be called complete? Forrest's optimism and simplicity might be mistaken for happiness, but in reality, this reflects a lack of responsibility toward his life and the people he loves. If his son faces issues like Jenny's, would Forrest once again be unable to help, leaving everything to fate as before? When examined deeply, Forrest Gump's story holds many valuable lessons. Forrest Gump may be a kind-hearted, sincere, and admirable person, but his life also serves as a reminder of the consequences of lacking wisdom, sensitivity, goals, and an understanding of life's nature. This doesn't mean Forrest has no value. Instead, we should learn from both his strengths and weaknesses. Live with kindness like Forrest, but also strive to develop wisdom and clear goals in life. Thank you for listening on iSage. It's a pleasure to share life experiences with you.